Hello, everyone. Agnes here. I have got an interview today with Hamza in Pakistan. Hello, Hamza.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Lovely to see you.
Yeah, it's always good to be back with you here
Yeah.
and talk some fantastic, wonderful things.
Yes. You have actually come up with 4 really good topics today. I'm going to introduce them so people know what we're going to talk about in advance. We've got 4 specific topics. Number 1, holistic fitness, working on mental and emotional health. Number 2, self-love and freedom. What does it mean to be free? Number 3, overcoming addictions. Number 4, illusion of control and learning acceptance. So let's dive in and start with number 1, holistic fitness, working on mental and emotional health.
Yeah, I think
what are
we
your
start
thoughts?
from something very basic and then we're moving into more advanced
Yep.
form of self-love. And I think what I call the last stage of self-love is when you truly break free from all the neediness, and you, I think, take on a spiritual dimension. So we'll talk about that. So holistic fitness, I'm training to be a fitness trainer. And the approach that I'm bringing is the idea of holistic fitness. So when we say fitness, the first thing that comes to our mind is gym, or it's physical, right? It's running, or it's cardio, it's fat loss. But nobody's really talking about fitness as a holistic concept, which is your internal state is just as much important as your external state. And you need to work on your internal state just as much as you work on your external state, with the same level of consistency, discipline, and effort.
Brilliant. I mean, I think that is such a wonderful idea because, you can do the physical fitness, but I too come across a lot of men and women, especially I will say women, that have self-criticism around their bodies, around certain parts of their bodies. And, we've talked a lot about self-love, and I think a huge part of self-love is to stop the criticism. Yes, you can train the body, but you've got to stop what you're doing, because you're actually in self-loathing when you're doing that. And that's not going to help your body or your mind in any way if you want to become a secure, confident, self-loving person. So I'm really
Definitely.
glad you brought it up.
And also, I think it takes same level of patience when you go out, and there's so many parallels between physical fitness and emotional fitness. When you go to a gym, you don't develop or create a new body overnight, right? It's a process, and you have to go through that process. You have to do a certain diet, you have to do exercises, and then you have to trust the process, and then results start to show up. Same with emotional fitness. When you give somebody affirmations, I mean, there's a lot of impatience around expectations. They do affirmations, and in a week's time, they're like, oh, nothing has changed. But then you never developed your new body in 1 week. It took you 6 months, or it took you a year to, transform your physical self. So you basically should have the same level of patience and expectation from transforming your emotional state as well. Because I believe with emotional fitness, it is challenging. I think it's more difficult because here you're trying to reprogram your mind, and you're trying to challenge your deep-rooted thoughts and beliefs about yourselves, which have been there. And if you've read Joe Dispenza, he talks about how your body emotionally become dependent on those thoughts and beliefs, and how you basically teach your body emotionally, condition your body to those thoughts and beliefs. So it's a lot of challenge. You have to fight your body, you have to fight your mind. Yeah, so it takes patience.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Joe Dispenza is fantastic with that type of explanation. I will put some links down below to him because he's still my all-time favorite go-to when it comes to the body.
Where he says the body is subconscious mind, I think that is so powerful, because when you try to change something mentally, your body, because it is conditioned to your old thoughts and beliefs, your body is going to resist. And that is where he says that you tell your body, you're not the mind, I'm the mind right now.
Yes. Yeah. All the problems start here and all the solutions start here. If you can get this sorted out, then you get the desire, the inspiration to train the body, to offload the emotions, and to keep, that's maintenance. We don't just do it for a year. This is something that you do as a lifestyle, and then you get better at it and you become, I think, someone who's emotionally mature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And emotional attraction, I mean, I say, is always more lasting and stronger than physical attraction. Physical attraction is fleeting.
Yeah, certainly is. Certainly is. And I think too, Hamza, as people get older, because I'm hearing a lot of people saying, oh, I'm getting older and I'm feeling, insecure about my age, insecure about my body. But it's like with age comes wisdom. There comes the knowledge you've applied, and you become, if you are up for the challenge, someone who can be more peaceful, more calm, more self-assured, and you stop looking for reassurance through a whole bunch of things: friends, family, social media, bosses, romantic relationships. You stop that looking for reassurance from other people, and you become someone who is self-assured, which is one of the greatest things, I think.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work.
It does. It does. It really does. I won't say that it doesn't, but boy, when you get on a roll and you practice it and you make that more important than your self-criticism, you become someone that has a presence about you.
Yeah, I think that's a very nice transition to our second point, which is the idea of freedom, right?
Yes.
So when you're saying this, when we say freedom from what exactly? I think it's the freedom from seeking validation, seeking assurance, right? And this is where these apps, I think they're making us really needy and insecure, especially Instagram, for attention, for validation. And we gauge our own worth through how many likes and comments we are getting. And overcoming that kind of thinking, I think it's very challenging because, I mean, obviously those are metrics for gauging your own worth. That's how people view you when they go to your profile. The first thing they see is, oh, how many followers you've got. But that's a very, I think, shallow way of, I think, gauging someone's worth.
Definitely. And I think really in the end, whether it's, Facebook, Instagram, or any of the other social media platforms, it's like those platforms have already, well, let me explain it this way. People were already insecure, and then they got on the platforms, and the platforms just put just shone a torch on the fact that there is insecurity there. So it's like the insecurities were there beforehand, but prior to social media, you only saw it when you met people in person or you saw someone on TV or whatever. But now, as you see what people do on platforms, that's when you really see the insecurities and the need for reassurance. So going back to point number 2, self-love and freedom. What does it mean to be free? Did you want to add anything more, Hamza?
Yeah. So, I mean, when we talk about freedom, I think that's when you take self-love to a very advanced form. And this is where we're talking about freedom from the neediness, right? So the need for love, the need for attention, the need for companionship. And it applies also to your cravings and addictions. And I think true freedom is when you actually transcend your emotional reactions and cravings to situations, even to, I mean, in your relationships, it could be sex as well. I mean, that's where mostly people, I think, lose it because that's the weak point. And if you can transcend your neediness for the joy or pleasure that you get from these things, that is when I think you become truly free. And if you can transcend, then I've come up with this theory, which is that the joy that you derive from being with yourself should always be one step ahead than the joy that you derive from, let's say, a relationship or any addiction. And as long as it's one step ahead, you will be fine. Because, and it's also a great way of protecting yourself, because if you lose that thing, that addiction, that relationship, you can always fall back to something which is stronger.
Yeah, I agree. And I am seeing regularly lately where people are using LOA to affirm, you know, this person, let's call them Mark. Mark loves me. Mark loves me. Mark loves me. But then they're still, you know, they've got an alcohol problem, or they smoke cigarettes, or they're taking drugs, and they're using affirmations to affirm the person loving them. But what they're doing in their own life is not loving themselves, and they're using LOA and affirmations to try and get love from that person. And I think you're wasting your time doing that stuff. You got to address yourself. You got to deal with the self. What am I doing? Because if someone's doing that, why on earth would that person want to be with you? Let's face it. You're not a good catch when you're in active addiction. You're not working on self-love, and you're affirming just to get. You haven't addressed your own self. So you're not attractive energetically if you're doing those types of things. Unless, I will use the exception, unless the person you want to be with is doing those things too. That would be the exception.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, your end goal is still that you're trying to get, right? So whether you're using drugs to get that, or you're using whatever means you're using, even if you're using affirmation, you're not free. I think if you're trying to get to affirmation, you're not really free. And this is something which you don't understand. I mean, to be honest, we have all been on an LOA journey, and this is something I did not understand when I first, got on this. And I also wanted, to get whatever it was from the outside world, but it's something which you develop later. I think, the more you go deeper into self-love and spirituality, the more you read about these wonderful authors, that is when you actually get to this freedom. So it's very advanced. I don't expect anyone to understand what freedom is in the early stages of LOA.
Yeah, I agree. It is definitely levels of well, firstly understanding and then application. So it's learning the principles. And we have seen again and again, people come to YouTube looking for, how do I get a specific person, or how do I get my ex back, or how do I attract more love or get a relationship? But when you go in that door, it opens up a whole new world.
Exactly, which is so interesting, because when you come to LOA, you are in an extremely desperate state and you're needy. But then it's such a journey that when you look back and when you reflect, that is when you see growth.
Yeah.
Because that neediness, I think self-love is the antidote to neediness. The more you love yourself, I think your neediness automatically, I think it goes back.
Definitely.
It becomes secondary, and it becomes less and less powerful.
Yeah.
And also very interesting thing, very interesting experience. I've been on a diet for the past 4 months because I wanted to hit reach a certain level of body fat. It's been a very intense diet where I had to abstain from those delicious foods like sugar, desserts. And I was just thinking, applying that analogy to self-love and this neediness, because that has also taught me so much self-control. Now to the level that when I see something which I could not resist a year back, let's say if it's an ice cream, now if an ice cream comes like right in front of me, and when I'm able to say no, that is when I'm able to transcend my cravings. And that is freedom.
Yep.
Right? And the same logic applies to love. Same logic applies to sex. You're able to say no to a guy, to a girl, because you love yourself so much, and you can always come back to yourself. And that feeling that you derive from yourself is greater from the feeling that you derive from the other person. That is freedom.
Lovely. Yeah. It is. It's short-term pain for long-term gain, as they say.
Yeah. And to be honest, it's not easy. I mean, I still work on it day and night, and you have to constantly affirm, I am my source. I am my source of happiness. It has to come from within me. Everything else is secondary. I'm good enough. I'm good no matter what. If somebody comes in, well and good. If it doesn't work out, I am still okay and happy and at peace. That's the challenge.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And that's when you get into those really wonderful relationships, when you're coming from that place of, I've got self-love and I'm able to give that. But while I give that, I'm still maintaining all the things I need to do for myself. So I am a good partner to you. And if there's no one there, I'm a good partner for me. It's you're good in
Yeah.
your own skin.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's something we should all work towards, becoming
Yeah.
free from, and because that gives you so much peace, and it
Mm.
takes all that pain and suffering of wanting, of neediness away.
Yeah. Certainly does. Certainly does. And that is the greatest thing of all, being free of anxiety, free of neediness, free of trying to get, free of looking for reassurance, free of just feeling awful when you wake up in the morning. All those things
Yeah,
transform
yeah,
as you
yeah,
work on what you're talking about. You do
yeah.
become more free. Yeah.
I don't know if you have heard about this doctrine of Sufism. I mean, it's very popular in South Asia. Mysticism, we also call it in social sciences. I did a course. So in Sufism, there's this concept of, they call it nafs. So it's NAFS. What that means is ability to resist your desires. So when you reach a certain level of spirituality, or if you want to reach a certain level of spirituality, the only thing that you'll need to overcome is your craving or your
Mm.
desire. And once you overcome your desire, that is when you truly become spiritual and become closer to the source. So that logic is also, now I was just reflecting when I was thinking about our talk, that will be a good example, because they are also teaching the same thing.
Mm. Maybe we can put some links to that for those that want to check that out a bit, because that's, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah. So at the end
Okay.
of the day, it comes down to your, I think, desires, and whether you can conquer them. Either you are a slave to your desires, or you are able to transcend
Yeah.
beyond them.
It's a lifetime's work for many, isn't it? It's a lifetime's work. But I think, for where we are, you and I personally at the moment, we have got moments of peace. We have got moments of feeling free. We have got moments of feeling joy when you wake up in the morning and feeling really good about yourself. Those things are not out of reach if you practice and you move towards. And also, it's not about being a robot and never having emotions about things, but when you have got emotions about things, you spend some time processing it, letting it out, and just taking care of that emotional part of yourself. Because we don't, that's why this is going to go into the third topic. This is why people pick up addictions, because they've got emotional stuff that's making them feel really uncomfortable and they don't want to feel it. So, topic number 3, overcoming addictions.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't have a lot to say here, and that's where I think I would want you to
Okay.
say, based on your research and experience, because I get a lot of queries, people who are addicted to drugs, how
Yeah.
should they come out of it? I mean, personally, my understanding of addiction is that if you're really falling for something, you're trying to avoid something deeper. So it's more of an avoidance strategy,
Yep.
and you're not really willing to face the root problem. And it's always a cover to something hidden. So
Yeah.
like you said, there's emotional stuff, and you have to address it. Otherwise, you'll never be able to overcome your addictions.
Totally agree. Totally agree. I definitely have seen again and again and again where it is covering up deeper stuff. And, whether people use food, drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, sex in particular. I see a lot of porn. People use a lot of porn. And the other one is what's called love addiction. There are groups like Alcoholics Anonymous. There are groups called Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. It's for people that get they need that person to be their source of love. And it's an addiction to the outside making your inside feel better. So that's why we use addictions, is because we don't want to feel pain. And we do get, on some level, for some period of time, relief from the emotional stuff. So when you stop an addiction, emotional stuff is going to come to the surface, and you are going to feel worse because you're not holding it down with anything anymore. But if you can stick with it, it's processing that stuff, letting it out, then eventually you will hit the peace, you will hit that silence, you will hit those amazing moments. But you have to walk on the hot coals and walk through the fire to get there. You do. And
I mean, it's not an easy journey.
No.
I mean, you have to really face the pain to be able to grow out of it.
You do. And that's why things like Ho'oponopono, inner child work, the work of Joe Dispenza, the work of Brandon Bays, she talks a lot about the emotional journey, especially for people that have got illnesses and health conditions because they have not addressed these things. And then the body has then created something as a dis-ease or a sickness or a tumor or, whatever it is, a cancer, because it is the emotions often have been stuck in the body and they have never been able to be let out. So these people that we've mentioned, I will put the links down below. If you're struggling with some health condition or you're struggling with some heavy duty addiction, it is about really looking at that and stop this trying to get from the outside, because it's an unquenchable thirst. It's never enough. When you're in addiction and you're in obsession, it's never going to be enough.
Yeah. I mean, this is very interesting, the idea of not having enough. I was out with my friend yesterday and he said something very interesting. So he's like, I met someone and it was great, but then now I want to meet someone else. And I had good sex. Another good sex. But something's missing. That's, I think, the crux of it. That you will never be able to get that peace or satisfaction when you're chasing or when you're relying on something like a drug or even sex. It has to come from within. Otherwise, there will always be a void.
Yeah. And it becomes this, you're always chasing the bright, shiny object. It's like, and eventually in time, you will feel exhausted. You will feel more unsatisfied, which means you need higher levels of drugs, cigarettes, alcohol, sex, pornography, food. You will need more and more and more to keep that stuff down. And, this is often when people hit the wall and hit a rock bottom, is because you cannot sustain it. It's affecting your job. It's affecting your relationships with family, with friends, or your body's blown out and you've put on weight, like huge amounts of weight, or you've destroyed your liver with alcohol or whatever it is. Something will break and crack at some point, and you will have to then deal with it. Or some people don't and they die.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's a choice at the end of the day. You know the problem and you don't want. I mean, this is something very interesting, which I'm experiencing on my Instagram page. A lot of people, so they're watching stuff, but they don't want to try. It's like they don't even want to try, I mean, right? I mean, we understand people don't believe in LOA or they don't believe in affirmations. And I don't want to impose my teachings on anyone, but I still feel you should be open-minded to words, options, and just exploring. You should give something an honest shot, whether you're going to gym, stick to the plan, trust the process, or whether you're doing LOA, manifestation, trust the process. That's where 90% of people, they back out in the first few weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
Because of short term, they want like quick overnight results. And that again goes down to how uncomfortable you are, that you want short-term fixes. Yeah,
it's true. And it's, I've heard repeatedly over the last few years in particular, because, I've been talking more about diet on the channel and eating healthy, and that you can't do the mental work if your body is running on processed food. You will have unclear thinking, then you don't, people aren't sleeping properly and they're exhausted and all this stuff. It's like you can't do all this law of attraction work, self-love work if your mind isn't in the best possible state by you helping the body with what it needs. And, people have said, oh, eating healthy is expensive, or, and it's like, yeah, but you're spending money on drugs and alcohol and cigarettes.
Yeah.
So you actually, that's expensive. So you choose what you want to spend your money on. So, those kind of excuses I do hear, because people do want to continue with the addiction. So, but it's, what? It doesn't matter what people choose. It's totally up to them. It's totally up to you if you want to make the changes or not. There's no, like you said, you make some suggestions, and then it's up to people which way they want to go. And, each to their own.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Dispenza, I was listening to him. He said last week that in the age of information we live in, ignorance is a choice. I think that summarizes what we're talking about, because and there's a way out, but you're choosing not to try. So it's a choice.
Yeah, exactly. So forks in the road. And we often come to a huge amount of suffering, and that's how we make changes. Usually we learn through pain and suffering. Pain and suffering is the greatest teacher of all.
Exactly. For transformational change, I say always.
Yes.
I think you have to go through, maybe what I call, if I look back at my life, you have to hit a rock bottom, or you have to be at a certain level of discontent to be able to truly break free.
Yeah, I agree. It's like those total forks in the road where you go, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot.
Yeah.
So, and you have had those moments. I have had those moments, and, the suffering kicked us in the butt and we got moving.
Now we are grateful for that.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. You do look back and you go, wow, I finally got it. And now I understand why doing this work is so important, because it's not about the bright, shiny object over there. It's about how good you feel over here through peace and feeling free and having a calm mind. That is priceless.
Yeah, very interesting. I read this quote from Dyer this morning, and I even shared it on my Instagram. So he says that if you've gone through something bad, like let's talk about ourselves, you have two choices: either to feel sorry for your entire life and just, cry over it, or use it as an opportunity to grow. So, we can still, like Dispenza calls, we can keep living in the past by sticking to the same memories and emotions every single day we wake up, resentment, anger, bitterness, or we can truly break free from it through the internal work.
Exactly. And you do break free. It's not a mirage. I heard somebody say recently, oh, LOA doesn't work. And it's like, I understand that, because when you're in pain, you feel like it's not working, but it's not law of attraction that doesn't work. And law of attraction is only one of many laws. There's law of projection, law of assumption. There's a whole law of liberty. There's a whole stack of laws. It's only one law in the whole system. So if you feel that way, know that we all started there. Know that that's how we felt too. And if you just keep going a little bit daily, working on your self-love, let everything else go, get yourself right first. And then from that point, you can attract an amazing relationship, a wonderful job that's meaningful to you, or, more money or travel or whatever it is that you want. But get yourself right first. You're the magnet. You're the magnet. You're a repelling or attracting magnet. So get yourself right first. And then all that other stuff is so much easier.
And also there's a lot of focus on changing other people. I get this a lot. Yeah. I don't know to what extent, because I'm not personally, I don't have an experience on changing people. But maybe you can also give your input on what you think about, can you really change people according to everyone is you pushed out concept. I just feel, I think my theory is, again, I may be wrong, I've not really experienced it. When you change yourself, the only person you need to change, I think Florence Scovel, she says that, I recently read it, the only person you need to ever change is yourself. And then the outer reality will automatically conform to your new image.
I agree. I think a lot of this stuff on YouTube is really promoting changing other people. I don't particularly subscribe to that way of thinking, because if you look at the whole basis of why am I looking to change someone else, it's because I don't feel comfortable with how they are and how they are with me. So rather than trying to control, why not dissolve the part of you that's uncomfortable and get to a place of peace and acceptance and learn to radiate love to them, so that you are within your own skin okay with how people are. So if you're trying to get someone to love you, because that's the one I see the most, you are basically saying, I'm not getting enough, I'm not getting enough, I'm not getting enough, I'm not getting enough. Now, when you look at yourself, why do you think you are like this? I'm not getting enough. Now, why do I need to use that person to get more for myself? That's not love, that's selfish. So looking at that part of you, correcting, if you're looking at everyone as you pushed out, you correct it by saying, okay, I'm trying to get love from them and I'm trying to use LOA to get more from them. Why don't I spend more time becoming more in a state of I am love and taking my foot off the back of their neck? And then the dynamic between me and them will change, because your projection of I'm not getting enough, I'm not getting enough, I'm not getting enough, transforming it into I am love. I am, and I'm connected to God, the source, the universe, whatever word you prefer to use, and getting strong in that. And as you get strong in that, the trajectory between you and them has to change. And that's why with everyone as you pushed out, and there's only you to change, you're deleting from your consciousness and from your emotional body the I'm not getting enough love, and I need more, and I need more, and I need more, and I need more, which is a dis-ease in you. It's got nothing to do with the other person. You were like that before they showed up, because that stuff comes from childhood. So if you correct it and you hop into the state, as Neville talks about, I am love, and you are radiating from that place, I am love, I don't need anything from you, you can show up however you want, you will most likely attract more love, because your state is gone from unloved to loved.
Yeah. So I think that brings us to our fourth point.
Yeah.
Which is control and acceptance.
Yes. I like how you use that word, the illusion of control and learning acceptance. What do you think about that?
I think one of the biggest learnings or teachings with I think LOA, and once you move into the spiritual dimensions, realms of life, is understanding that we do not really have control, and things will not always go the way we want, and we don't always get what we want. Now, this is very difficult to accept, right? Because like we have this urge to have control and to get what we want, but the reality is that things will not always go your way, because there is a force out there. I mean, you can call it nature or source or God. And once you accept this, I think that is when you truly, again, it links to freedom. That is when you that's when life becomes easy and you are at peace. So understanding of this is, I think, fundamental for living a happy and peaceful life.
Totally agree with you. Yeah, the illusion of control. We, I think, can influence things to a great degree through a lot of things. Self-love work, affirmations, meditations, correcting yourself and being in the best state possible to be able to receive that which you seek. I also think that we as human beings, and I've noticed that since YouTube has got bigger and bigger over the last 5-6 years, the amount of people telling you can just get what you want all the time. Personally, I think that there's an arrogance in that. I think there's a huge arrogance and there's no humility in that. I think that, yes, we can influence. Yes, we can do our best to plant the seed, water it, fertilize it. But at the end of the day, the sun has to do the work, and so does the rain. And this is the same with the bigger God. The bigger God is in charge of packaging and timing.
Yeah.
When we get things and how we get things is not in our control. So
Yeah.
I think there's once you make peace with that you can't control, and that it is an illusion. You cannot control life. You can't control other people. You can influence through doing the work on yourself and preparing yourself and being in as much of a loving state as you can. But those people that I have found in the last few months that come and said, I did all the LOA stuff and I still didn't get what I wanted. Well, if you're a person that's saying that, ask yourself, did I actually understand that I can't control, but I can influence, but I can't control, and that I'm not entitled? The arrogance, and the lack of humility, unfortunately, I think needs to be addressed if you are someone who's got your ladder up that wall, because that's never going to work.
Well, another thing which comes on acceptance is also having understanding, yes, that you don't have control, but also having this faith in the source that everything is working out for you.
Yes.
That is how you, I think, balance this fact that you don't have control by having this faith that everything is working out for you. And I think Abraham Hicks, I'm not sure if you've listened to her, she has this rampage video on everything is working out for me, where she just repeats everything is working. And she says that when things don't work out for me, next time I'm going to say everything is working out for me.
Yeah.
And I have this strong faith that once you learn to surrender, and once you accept that you don't have control, but at the same time you're also farming and you're also doing your self-love, you will get something better.
Exactly.
And things are definitely working in your favor, not maybe the way you think they should.
I agree. And that is being aware that you can't control, but still doing what you can from morning till bedtime to put your best foot forward, to do what you can to prepare the soil, to plant the seeds. So I think definitely, I mean, I know once I learned about surrender, letting go, acceptance, having faith and trust, my life, the amount of energy I no longer had to expend trying to control, trying to manipulate, trying to make things happen, trying to push, always following up on things, that giving up all of that has made me be able to conserve energy and then watch things come in.
And this is something which has been so empowering for me. I'll give you an example from just this week. So I recently went to Islamabad. I think I also told you to shoot content for the capital city, which is 4 hours away. And we specially went, I had my technical team, and we went to shoot some content in the mountains for my fitness page. So we spent a night and we were all night working out in the mountains, doing exercises and filming. Yesterday, my team calls me up and he says that his hard disk has crashed and there's no backup for that content, right?
Yeah.
Now, the old Hamza, if I look back, the old Hamza would have been right now. I think he would have lost it. Depression, anger, anxiety, and why, how can it happen? Like, why? Right? But I instantly, because of this training and the journey I am on, I just said that, okay, I accept. Number one, I said I accept, and things are working out for me, and I trust infinite intelligence.
Yeah.
And then an hour later, the same guy calls me and he shows me this location, which is 10 times superior and prettier than where we were. And I'm going there tomorrow. Now I'll tell you, we would never have gone to this place if this had not happened.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, like Wayne Dyer also says, there's a valid reason to everything that happens. In that moment, we don't understand. And yes, I was upset. It's natural. I was under a lot of stress because obviously I spent money. There's a lot of effort that goes into traveling. But then things happen and we don't have control.
Yeah. And I think the sooner you can just go, whew, okay, it's not the end of the world. No one's died. Let me regroup and let's focus on, stop getting attached to what didn't work, the problem. What's the solution? Wow, look at this amazing place. Let's start preparing and planning for that. And you pull yourself away from the problem by putting your focus on creating the next thing and getting excited about it. That way you stop watering the problem plant and you're watering the solution plant, then something amazing can happen. And I think doing that quicker and quicker is what makes for a much better life. Exactly what you're talking about.
Definitely. And I think that's the great takeaway. That should be the takeaway for everyone watching this YouTube. Detachment and then acceptance, understanding that we don't have control, but having faith that you have got the universe back and things are working out for you in the larger scheme of things. Yeah.
Wonderful. Everything is always working out for me. I love that affirmation. It's such a powerful one. Or there's another one, isn't it wonderful what's happening to me now? And, those affirmations, they're nice general affirmations. They can cover all topics in your life, your money, your relationships, your work, your creative projects, traveling, whatever it is, it covers it all. And I really think that, you can fulfill so many of your desires. But I do think what we talked about today about not being a slave to them, not being so attached. You can create, but then the other half of the nut, letting go, surrender, remembering you don't have control, having humility, having acceptance, and being at peace in the meantime before things hatch. You can be at peace in between manifestations. You really can, because it's just one day, tight compartment, morning till bedtime. Make this the best that you can, and then you let go.
Yeah.
Good conversation, Hamza.
Yeah, truly enjoyed it. Some deep philosophical stuff we've talked about.
Yeah, for sure. So do you want to say anything in closing?
Yeah, so I mean, I want to end with, again, a quote by Marisa Peer. She shared it yesterday. She says that there's nothing in the world that you cannot achieve with radical self-love. So I think that should be the focus. Instead of chasing desires, chasing objects, just chase self-love and work on your self-love and work on acceptance, and things will start to fall in place, and trust the process.
Yeah, I love that. Radical self-love. Nice choice of words. Well, very, very, very interesting topics today. That was good food for thought. I hope everyone, you have enjoyed our conversation and got something out of it, something you can use, something you can apply, something you can start to change starting from today, that just makes you feel a bit more peace and a bit more freedom, especially mentally and emotionally. So Hamza, stay on and we will say goodbye in private, and bye everyone. As always, I will see you in the next YouTube.